Every now and then I'll run into works made by groups that are well known, but the works themselves aren't. From Canon, which was written by Type Moon, to Rewrite, which was made by Key. It's fun to see these works that nobody's heard of and be pleasantly surprised by them. Today on Rockman Dash Reviews we have such a game, Higabana no Sakuyoru ni, both Daiichi Yoru First Night and Dai ni Yoru Second Night, by 7th Expansion, the doujin group that wrote the ever-popular Higurashi and Umineko. There's not much you can really say about the plot of Higanbana without spoiling it, because it has such a strong story that hones in on a few themes, continuously reinforcing it and the message it wants to tell. Like 7th Expansion's other games, it's another supernatural horror game, this time taking place in an unnamed school, executed similar to Corpse Party. It's a series of short stories about horrible yet extremely engaging events, started by supernatural beings called yokai, with each story having a different protagonist. These stories are separated yet connected. It feels episodic at times, with each chapter being its own story, but each chapter influences each other, and it really is just the story of what horrible things are happening at the school, with bullying as an overarching theme. When I say that, I really mean it. Bullying really is an overarching theme in this game, with Higanbana showing how horrible kids are, or people in general, but mostly kids, with themes of revenge, delusions, loneliness, the strength of people, group psychology, death, and hierarchies in life. When I say horrible, I really mean horrible, with some of these people being what I would describe as scumbags of humanity, doing some absolutely atrocious deeds. But even then, that makes for a pretty great read. The spiritual elements in Higanbana were some of the most enjoyable parts of the writing to me, as they fleshed out the world with its unique society that was intriguing and interesting. While the story could have just been another character drama, the interesting world of the yokai makes Higanbana that much better, and it was one of my favorite aspects of the game. Normally I'm not the biggest fan of the supernatural, but when it's done this well, with so much detail and so much emotion, I just kinda have to love it. It's done very well. The execution in general was pretty solid, with every element building up to make a great experience. Some of these stories were pretty weak, like Chapter 6 of Daiichi Yoru, and some of the stories end very anticlimactically, but they all serve a purpose and were all pretty enjoyable to a point. The characters were solid, with all of them interesting and enjoyable, and the two main characters were just great. Higanbana, yes, there's a character called that in the game, and Mary were just awesome, with Higanbana being an epic troll throughout, and Mary being innocent yet determined. A little slice of sanity in this insane world, providing hope where everyone wants despair. Her character helps keep the story engaging and entertaining, keeping it sane and humane. The pacing in the game never really got in the way, and it was pretty solid, and the story as a whole was interesting, engaging, and well written. It compelled me to want more and pushed me through the story, due to how well written it was. Both of the games had a great ending, being entertaining, concluding well, and both very satisfying. Higanbana is written very well, and it's a story that you should try out. When playing through 7th Expansion games, there are things that need to be expected when it comes to visuals, which are that the visuals are best described as passable. Higanbana doesn't change a thing. It has pretty bad character art, the Nscripter engine is annoying and outdated, and the backgrounds look average at best. It's a 2011 game, but it looks like it was made in the early 2000s. The worst part is, though, unlike other 7th Expansion games, there's no update patch, so you'll have to deal with the BSR. But really, the art shouldn't get in the way with your experience, and it never did for me. Also, I thought the backgrounds, while outdated, added charm at times, and the selective utilization of sight works to your advantage in the story, so it's not all horrible. Like the visuals, 7th Expansion is very consistent with the quality of sound, but unlike the visuals, the auditory experience is great. Has memorable tracks, creates a great atmosphere to enhance the story, and it's pleasing to the ears. It's very well composed, extremely engaging, and the best way to describe it would be rich, beautiful, and haunting due to the setting. It does a great job, and it's an amazing soundtrack. While Higanbana isn't mind-blowing like Higurashi and Umineko are, it's just as enjoyable. It's written exceedingly well, the characters and ideals that it deals with are intriguing and entertaining, the soundtrack is great, and everything is just pretty solid. I really enjoyed this one, with the writing keeping me absolutely absorbed into the story and into the world. The occult and the yokai elements were interesting and intriguing, building a fantastic yet interesting world while not being too overbearing, which I find typically happens with these types of stories, and to me, this change of pace was pretty enjoyable. Higanbana is pretty subdued in general, which means it's harder to screw up, but it means that the story isn't really nearly as memorable. Also, the story didn't really have that much impact on me, mainly because it didn't feel all that original. The story is quite similar to Corpse Party in both scenario and execution, which doesn't really hurt the enjoyment of it, but it did lessen the impact it had. That being said, Higanbana is a very enjoyable work, and I think you will enjoy it as much as I did. Higanbana also has a manga, but contrary to what you would expect, the manga is the original while the visual novel is the adaptation. Weird, huh? That being said, avoid the manga. Although the manga has much better art, they have the same plot, and is the original, it's nowhere near as good. It's not as good because they're very over the top, which inhibits the enjoyment of the series. That subtlety I mentioned earlier that helped the story so much, completely absent here. Instead, you get a manga that shows too much and tells too little, thus making it feel more like a horror story, but it does it in a way that's so overkill that you can't take it seriously. The manga fails to execute. The pacing is too fast, it doesn't show the emotions that makes Higanbana great, and even the aspects that were better, like the visuals, aren't utilized correctly. Also, it lacks the stellar music that helped the visual novel so much, which is a major blow to the execution of the story in my opinion. Ryukishi 7 is best when working on visual novels, and I think it really shows here. Personally, I just don't understand why Higanbana didn't get popular like the other 7th expansion games. It's just as amazing as them, with great music and engaging writing, so I'm really at a loss. If you were a fan of those or Corpse Party, you will love this, and if you aren't, it's a great visual novel that is deeply engaging, but with poor visuals. Well, 7th expansion's visual novels are called sound novels for a reason, so yeah. I'd recommend it to anyone interested, as it's a pretty great ride. This has been Rockman Dash Reviews. See you later.